Обратный отчет перестал идти. Спасибо за follow on it. Hey. Thank you, Eva Adams. Обратный отчет исчез. Ну, стрим. Стрим не идет. Точнее, они еще не начали. Буду по мере возможности переводить на ходу. Если буду успевать, конечно. I'm waiting stream with developers. They will say what will be in future of Diablo 4. Diablo 4, of course. For now.
The time of prophecy has come, knights. Hell is coming, brother. If we can't stop Lilith, we'll all be damned.
Hey, hello Diablo community. Welcome to the first ever Diablo 4 campfire chat.
Now, this is not
First ever.
This is not a live stream.
This is not, well, this is,
even though it's live.
it is live.
It's not a dev stream.
It's not a developer update live stream.
Right.
As you guys know, this is a little bit different than what we had before. We still will have developer update live streams, but campfire chats, this is kind of a new show for us. We wanted to get
I was playing a lot of games, but usually it's games of Blizzard company. World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3, and Diablo 2.
Trailers or videos and so forth in this one.
Hearthstone.
We still will have developer update live streams. Our next one is going to be in July, but we are most definitely going to have more of these campfire chats here in the future. And with those developer update live streams, you will get those big announcements and the big reveals and us going into more detail about big updates that might be coming up in the future. But for campfire chats, we want to use this format to kind of chat with the community and make sure that you all get an opportunity to actually hear from us and talk to us a little bit more often.
I still think my brain, like I was saying, instead of if we keep this seating arrangement instead of between two ferns, be between two jerks, but he wouldn't go for it.
Rod made up this joke literally 30 seconds ago.
Пока ничего особого не говорят, так просто шутят, рассказывают о том, что это будет отличаться от обычных разговоров с разработчиками стримов.
Sometimes you have to be funny off camera and then try to be funny on camera. You know, it doesn't always. The magic has to happen when it happens, Adam.
Well, magic that did happen.
So you can see why this is a campfire.
Yeah. And we have to get we actually have to get a campfire in
You
here.
do, or at least a flickering orange light.
And then
movie magic.
Well, a flickering light as opposed to a real campfire, so we don't burn down everything. And then
That's security watch we allow.
And then suddenly everyone will hate us. But we.
I brought s'mores.
You did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I brought a version of s'mores. Like, I wanted Oreo s'mores, and I got Target like gerbated me, so I'm like. I have the Target brand s'mores flavored cookies. So if we want to really get into the
I'm from Russia.
campfire notion, we could eat s'mores.
But,
while
Rod
talking about
just
the
wanted
game.
to eat
I just
on
wanna-
camera.
We'll see
You don't get a
where,
body like
I'll
this
be
without eating cookies, Stephanie.
in the future.
Come on.
Rod also has explained to us 3 or 4 different times about his unsuccessful attempts at buying s'mores.
I had a lot of desire to acquire Oreo s'mores last night.
It's been a morning.
S'moreos.
S'moreos.
I'm sorry, I'm saying it
S'moreos.
incorrectly. I wanted s'moreos last night and I failed, but I will drown my pain with Target brand s'mores cookies.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, while Rod is doing that, we do want to talk about launch and how that went. Obviously, D4 is now out in the wild. We had a really great launch. I mean, like it's. We know the community's been really amped about the game. Reviews have been really good. You know, it's been a couple weeks since launch itself, and also like huge shout out to the team here, the live ops team, Tiffany here. By the way, I haven't done
You didn't even
intros.
introduce
I
people.
didn't even
You're
introduce
Great
people.
country.
Completely
I like
unfair.
Australia.
You jerks, you didn't even introduce people.
Awful. All right, let me do that first before we
Did
actually.
you just make Joe Shelley facepalm?
It's the s'mores thing and the really bad joke. It's just
Can I
throwing me
crinkle the
off.
plastic while you do it?
Right next
Yeah.
to your
Говорят о том,
face.
что якобы у Diablo хорошо стартануло, продажи хорошие, высокие. В принципе, ничего такого особого пока что не говорят, то, чтобы было бы интересно.
We have Tiffany Watt here, who's our associate production director for Diablo 4.
Ну, просто знакомят друг с другом.
The notion
S'moreo
that
connoisseur.
Глава комьюнити, директор Diablo,
beyond
так,
just associate production,
помощник продюсера,
what is it, your
вроде
sphere of influence,
директора.
your remit of control, your-
Так, ну и глава франшизы, короче, менеджер по франшизе.
I'm very passionate about. I work with a very, very large live ops team that goes beyond just the Diablo 4 team. So definitely congratulations to everybody across Blizzard that's been supporting us. Lots of time spent in the war room. Lots of time with Adam. Adam was
which is, you know, it's a penalty
It's a-
unto
a
it's
itself.
penalty.
awful.
Yes,
It's
is the worst
absolutely
part.
awful.
No, it was really exciting to work with people across the globe. So lots of.
You want to offer me something?
Also a physical war room here on campus, and it was just really cool to finally launch this game. Work with so many people to bring it.
Привет,
to so many
привет,
players.
Евгений.
Congratulations to everybody, and I'm really glad that everybody is playing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think like, you know, we have sort of in a way a of a great game and a great launch, right? Like the notion of sometimes you can have a really awesome game and the launch can kind of get in the way of it. And you don't get to experience that great game the way you want to. And so I think these are 2 great people to represent that 90 rated game and then the ability to play it since it was launched, you know, so it's awesome. And yeah, thank you so much to everybody who play. You know, we just crossed 350 million hours of play, which is phenomenal and very exciting. So again, thank you so much. And part of this conversation, I think, really is about that. Like, what happens to a game that gets 350 million
Thank you,
hours
Eva.
of play
If
against it? And
I'll
so,
be
you know,
looking for
obviously,
help
when you're making the game,
in
you can
this,
apply 350 million
I'll
hours of play time against
write to
it
you.
find, oh, maybe this balance isn't quite what we wanted, or this feature isn't working quite the way we want. And so we wanted to take this opportunity to kind of talk about, you know, now that we've seen it out there for, by the way, it's only been 10 days. And, you know, we talk about the Diablo 4, this launch is really just the beginning of our
Yes, of course,
journey with
you
Diablo
can.
4. You know, this is something we're going to support for years to come. We're working on seasons. We're working on expansions. Notice that was a plural word.
Пока что они просто ничего такого особого не говорят, ничего интересного, просто вода, ничего даже переводить.
And you know, and that's something that we're really sort of, this is the kind of stuff we're focused on. I do like, if I can stay on my soapbox for just one
After
second.
stream.
Can I stay
Go
on
right
my
ahead.
soapbox?
Yes.
I do want to like, I think one of the conversations we can have is around like the expectation around changes, because I find like in a live service like this, in Tiffany's world, the notion of a hot fix, which is how would you like describe to somebody who maybe doesn't understand, like whenever Adam's like, we're doing another hot fix, like what is a hot fix from a player's perspective?
So there's a lot of issues that we are able to hotfix on the server, whether it's server code or server data. And those are ones that generally we can turn around a little bit quicker. Obviously, we want to make sure that the fix is solid, doesn't break anything else in the game, that our QA team has an opportunity to run through it and ensure that if we
Говорят
roll
про
it out, when we
хотфиксы,
roll it out,
что очень много нужно было им
that
быстро
actually improves the game
исправлять.
and fixes the issue that we come across. We also have the opportunity to do client fixes. Those ones are just, it requires an update to the actual player's client. In both cases, for the most part, they are seamless so that players can get that change while they're playing the game. I'm sure you've noticed sometimes when you're logging out that your Battle.net client will pick up an update or you'll pick it up on your console. So the next time that you log in and play Diablo 4, you pick up that client update. Hotfixes are seamless. So as you're playing and you're doing server transitions, as you're going through the world, you'll automatically pick up that update. In both cases, should be seamless and something that we work very, very hard on. Client fixes tend to take a little bit more time to get out to our players. We want
Yes, you
to treat
can.
all of our players.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a console player myself. I know that Joe Shelley plays on console, Rod Ferguson plays on console,
NPC.
and PC. Super important that we get these fixes out to our players at the same time so that everyone that plays Diablo 4, regardless of how they're playing, can experience the same game and the same quality of experience.
And I think for the client, what we call the client, so the way you're playing on your actual device.
Ничего пока интересного не говорят.
We support, multiple platforms. We have to often go through certification. And so that's one of the things.
Что якобы делают множество апдейтов, хотфиксов, да, обновлений, и пытаются сделать так, чтобы вы особо не замечали, чтобы мы особо не замечали обновления эти, то есть чтобы они быстро проходили, и чтобы не было дисконнектов и так далее, короче. Что, в общем, оправдываются за то, что приходится часто обновлять игру и так далее.
9 times out of 10, no issues. Occasionally, based on just the scale, like we haven't worked at the scale before, and so.
Okay, after stream I will.
This number of servers with this number of players on it, we could hit a hiccup, and we've hit a couple, during launch that. But our intention is to keep the game up all the time and just try to. But that being said, like I said, we often want to plan well in advance because we have to QA it. It's not like we can turn. That's one of the things I feel like the feedback is I have this problem. I want to see it fixed tomorrow, and you're like, I would love to do that for you, but we have to go through CERT and we have to QA it and we have to do all this work, and so we already have a big, real patch coming.
Говорят, что уже скоро будет большой патч.
It's out there. It's going to address a lot of things,
Thank you.
Performance issues. And it's so big. We're actually talking about there's the potential we may actually choose to have a maintenance window and say we're going to bring the whole game down. We're going to apply this big patch, and then we're going to bring it all back up. You have an artifact of said patch.
I do.
Am I ruining your agenda, by the way? Did I jump way
slightly, but it's okay.
It's a campfire talk. It's a campfire chat.
Campfire chats. In fact, we have been working on a pretty large client patch.
Chunky patch.
It's very chunky. Chunky is the perfect.
Да, говорят, что очень большой патч. Они работают над большим патчем каким-то.
It's 13 pages, but it's not even done yet. But it is just an early preview of kind of what we're putting together.
Говорят, что вот 13 листов того, это даже небольшая часть того, что они готовы чем с нами поделиться. И это 13 листов, вон там, чего-то там у него. Это то, что они собираются добавлять. Меня пока что это радует.
And the other thing I wanted to at least let other people know is we were in this initial launch window, so hotfixes were coming super quick, at a rapid pace. Because we're trying to, when you have this many players hitting the game, a lot of things kind of crop up, and we were wanting to kind of get those hotfixes out. Same with the small client patches. I know a lot of people are going but it said further bug fixes and stability. A lot of that stuff is on the back end to make sure.
Говорят, что они прям очень быстро делают хотфиксы, но до сих пор мы знаем о многих багах, которые до сих пор работают. И работают, в принципе, уже достаточно много. Дня 3-4. Минимум некоторые баги я знаю.
that's not
Ну как,
included. It's not
баги
like
такие
bad bugs.
легкие, конечно, понятное дело, ничего серьезного, но тем не менее.
It's like
Сильные
some
игру-то они не меняют, и никакие
thing
преимущества
that's
прям
not
жесткие не дают,
to our engineers got fixed.
кроме экономии
right?
времени.
And so it ends up not being very useful to go into a lot of detail about those. But anytime there's something that's like, oh, we changed the barbarian, that we call that out.
Yeah, if there's like player-facing stuff, we'll most definitely end up calling that out. In regards to some at least how launch has gone and feedback that we've gotten from the community, you know, we've heard a lot of different topics within the community itself. People just chatting with us or hitting us up on social media.
I think it's one of the interesting aspects is like I wanted to create this meme of like, we want a balanced game where there's no meta and every build is viable, and everybody's like, yay! And they're like, we've reduced the power of this class, and they're like, what's going on? Table flip, and you're like, what? We have a philosophy of like, as part of balancing the game, whether that be the world or the classes, there will be pluses and minuses that have to be applied to the game, you know, and the notion of, oh look, you know, I remember Destiny 2 had loot cave, and we're like, there's a loot cave, let's just sit here and farm loot, and we're having so much fun. It's Christmas morning all day long, and like that can't persist. Like for the good of the game, that has to not exist at some point, right? And so that's.
Типа говорят то, что не должно быть одного места, в котором все будут весь день сидеть и лутать шмотки, опыт и так далее. То есть они пытаются сделать так, чтобы было разнообразие в игре, чтобы можно было постоянно что-то новое делать.
Gaining XP and sort of growing their levels and kind of like what is their path for. It felt like what we started to see was that a player pattern that was non-ideal. It was like a player pattern like that you wanted to sort of that was being revealed through play. Like,
говорят, что им не понравилось то, как игроки начали набирать опыт, вот, теми способами, о которых мы все знаем, да, падение чемпиона, естественно, и что это все не идеально, говорят, не идеально, ну далеко не идеально на самом деле.
A lot of choice for players,
right?
Both in terms of being able to make having lots of good choices for where you're going to level or acquire loot, and also in terms of your character having lots of choices, right? And so, you know, sometimes people will say like, well, can't you, anytime something is too strong, can't you just buff everyone else?
Right.
And while in theory you can do that, when you have many classes and many builds, and you have one thing that is too strong, the process of buffing everything else, A, is likely to result in more balance issues because you're changing many things at once. And B, you can very quickly run into a place where you have, you know, 65,000% on Whirlwind or something, you know, and it can get sort of crazy.
You're always just chasing that power.
So yeah, I mean, sometimes we have to make changes. We have to nerf things sometimes.
Ну, говорят то, что якобы вот если что-то выбивается из как бы более дисбалансное, да, что очевидно проще это понерфить, чем все остальное бафнуть. Поэтому они нерфят.
Right. You know, when I came here today, I was thinking about. I don't have a shirt like this, but I thought about like getting a shirt and then writing it's time for the buffs on it.
We can make you one.
I didn't do that, but it is.
Говорит, что типа он бы хотел бафать, а не нерфить. Якобы наоборот повышать там тех, кто не отстает по урону и так далее. Но нерфить проще.
We do.
The community has called out through various formats, through videos and posts.
Videos, posts on our forums, which we really appreciate. Anyone who posts on our forums, we are completely scouring our forums for feedback and so forth. Posts on social media, on Reddit, conversations that people are having in videos. You know, sometimes we have content creators that are actually creating like videos that are talking about specific topics. So we've kind of compiled a good list of like hot topics that I think that the community has been wanting to hear more about, and we do want to go through those and actually talk about them a little bit more in detail. I think probably the biggest one I think that people have been talking about the most has been around dungeons. As you guys know, like we've had a few hot fixes and by a few I mean 4 in a row, yes.
Yep.
Totally understand.
Yep.
Of hot fixes where we do, where we had a line where we did mention that we were reducing like elite pack levels and so forth, or adjusting them specifically in certain dungeons, with the goal to be, longer dungeons having more elite packs, and of course shorter ones having.
Говорят про нерфы данжей, то, что они убирали элиток, ну, в принципе, то, что уже было в хотфиксах. Так, и так было написано все.
Like where we are.
It seemed like it was a contrast thing. Like I think Joe can speak to, but like I think the expectation was, oh, nightmare dungeons are the end game. That's the place I'm going to go, quote unquote farm. But right now, the normal dungeons, because the elite density is so high, it's better to farm a normal dungeon than.
Короче говоря, да, вот то, что, в принципе, я и говорил в одном из видео, то, что они хотели сделать так, чтобы для фарма были кошмарные данжи, чтобы было разумнее бегать по кошмарным данжам. А получилось так, что появились некоторые данжи обычные, которые намного быстрее фармят. Ну, блин. Очевидное решение. Сделайте телепорты сразу к кошмарным данжам. Телепорты, не надо бежать к ним. Ты открыл кошмарный данж, тебя сразу в него телепортировало. Все, никаких проблем.
But more broadly, I mean, you were talking about nightmare dungeons. Nightmare dungeons have, first off, actually, the significant majority of our players haven't finished the campaign yet.
Говорят, что большинство вообще игроков даже кампанию не закончили до сих пор.
But many of the people who are watching this stream, in fact, and our dedicated players, play through content much more quickly,
Right.
and have been experiencing this situation with the dungeons, right? So going to nightmare dungeons. Nightmare dungeons are explicitly set up to be highly replayable, right? Through the sigil affixes, through the variety of nightmare dungeons.
Ну, говорят, типа то, что вообще они как бы рассчитывали на то, что кошмарные данжи будем мы фармить все, что поэтому они рандомно появляются, чтобы было разнообразие, и что ты глифы апаешь в кошмарных данжах.
Over and over. If you want to loop dungeons, nightmare dungeons are set up to be good at doing that.
That's
right?
the intention.
Yeah. So what we're going to do there is we're going to increase the amount of XP that you get from nightmare dungeons.
О, то, что они, молодцы. Они говорят, что они повысят опыт в кошмарных данжах сейчас.
Make nightmare dungeons more efficient to do than side dungeons,
Right.
because they're designed to be more replayable.
And does that take into account like nightmare dungeons have essentially a travel time to get to them?
Right. So
Вот.
this is a great point. So in order to
Говорят, что типа путешествовать нужно.
efficiency, if you think about XP per hour or XP per minute, and we actually have telemetry on this, so we can see what it looks like. You can't just look at the XP that you're getting from the nightmare dungeon, because you have to spend some of the time traveling to that nightmare dungeon. And in fact,
Говорит про то, что нужно, да, бегать.
are a variety of distances away from the nearest waypoint or teleport. So it actually varies depending on which nightmare dungeon you're going to. And so that can also have the effect, if you're thinking about the efficiency aspect of it, of XP per hour or loot per hour, of sort of making it hard to justify choosing a nightmare dungeon that's far from a teleport point.
Sure.
So the second thing that we're going to do here is we're going to modify the way that sigils work so that they teleport you to nightmare dungeons.
Вот то, что я только что говорил.
Or do they create a place to await?
Телепортируют в кошмарный данж. Они сделают телепорты в кошмарные данжи.
A waypoint that
Вот это я прям очень рад
you'll be
этому.
able to teleport to. That's an important distinction.
Right.
But the effect is that you'll be able to teleport to your nightmare dungeons, and you'll be able to loop from the end of
Повысят опыт в кошмарных данжах.
your next nightmare
И сделают так, что можно будет в них телепортироваться сразу.
again. You may have to
Вот,
loop
все
from
вообще.
nightmare dungeon using
Теперь фарм чисто в кошмарных данжах. Очевидно просто. Это прям то, что было очевидно, то, что нужно было сразу сделать. И я об этом говорил даже на стриме.
have the XP, calculate the XP buff to make sure that those are the most efficient to do, because we're removing the travel time aspect of it.
Okay, so we're improving the rewards from nightmare dungeons to make them more what the intention was. That's the place you farm.
Yeah.
We're removing the need to have a travel time.
Прочитали прям мысли.
You and your party can go there, so it shortens it.
Right.
like the waypoint one in particular sounds like a reasonably large change. So from a player perspective, what should expectations be about? Hey, that sounds awesome, or at least for me, I'm responding. That sounds awesome. I don't know.
Ну да, я тоже очень рад. Говорит, что для него это прям очень крутое обновление, то, что можно будет телепортироваться. Для меня тоже.
Very quickly and easily.
This isn't supposed to be one of
It's a little, but this is something that's really important to many of our most dedicated players. And so we're working very hard on this right now, actually, and yesterday as well, to get it in before Season 1 launches.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Эти все обновления будут до того, как запустится первый сезон.
Tiffany and the live ops team I know have been working really tough on are working a lot to make sure that we can get specific updates before season 1 and scheduling those out and everything. So yeah, the Nightmare Dungeon changes that Joe was just talking about. The goal is to have that out before season 1 so players can actually experience it.
Я надеялся, что эти обновления вообще сейчас выйдут. Это было бы замечательно.
The Nightmare Dungeons and use that as a way of kind of incentivizing. And with Nightmare Dungeons XP being buffed, and it should be a new the way that players end up needing to want to kind of grind or farm specific things. They have the Nightmare Dungeon options.
So and then for people who are maybe not following along all the time, right now season 1 we're saying mid to late July.
Mid to late July.
So we're saying that this change could happen anytime between in the next 4 weeks or whatever.
Correct.
So that's what we're focused on. But again, I think that
Говорят, что в конце июля должен выйти первый сезон, и они собираются эти обновления, то есть телепортацию к данжам и повышение опыта в данжах кошмарных, сделать приблизительно в течение 4 недель. Говорят, не хотят спешить.
A notion of like your jello mold is trying to set, and if you keep poking it, it won't ever stabilize, it won't ever set, and that's kind of the thing we worry about here is that with all that, what are we at hotfix 9 we've put out so far?
We're actually at 11.
We are at 11.
I missed one.
Говорят, 11 хотфиксов уже сделали.
And with also our client patches, like we're constantly sort of poking, and if you do that without proper QA,
Не помню, 11 хотфиксов? Что-то очень много. Не припомню столько.
So that's something we want to be as responsive as possible, but we also want to be as safe as possible and make sure we're not causing other issues.
Yeah, I mean,
shout out to Hotfix 11 for fixing some of the things that we
may have broken the previous one.
The teleport should take you to the dungeon and not under the world or in front of Lilith.
Major shout out to our QA team because we have put out, I think as you just said, 11 hotfixes and I want to say 8 or 9 client patches. So definite kudos to them.
Yes.
Speaking of season 1, I am looking forward to it. I'm a Necro player as well, I believe Rod is, so definitely looking through that chonky patch to make sure that my class gets buffed, as Joe said. But I've been collecting renown.
You just promised. Do you realize what you just did?
Yes.
This is why you
just
need to
promised Necro buffs.
Well, now Joe has to do it because I said
Is that how it works?
Yes, it is how it works.
Okay, great.
I didn't tell him that, but now he knows. I'm looking forward to season 1. I am curious because I think a lot of the community is curious, will I have to recollect all those altars of Lilith? Do I get to carry over those priors?
Да, придется ли получать известность заново, алтари Лилит брать в первом сезоне и так далее?
So, Rod, what's season 1 going to look like for me when I roll a rogue?
When you roll a rogue, well, I mean, one of the cool things you and I both experienced a lot with our Necro play is the blighted corpse problem, right?
Yes.
Which is I think Josh calls them
one of the cool things.
Well, no, it is a cool thing. I think Josh calls them corpse farts, but like he's like, I'm trying to get through this with corpse farts. It's not my favorite term, but anyway, but we know that the opaqueness of that effect is sometimes can be an explosion waiting for you underneath there, and you can die.
It is a bug, yes. That is one of the things we are fixing.
I'm just like judo.
Какой-то баг с некромантами, то, что якобы трупы взрываются и дамажат, что-то типа того.
That is included in one of our upcoming patches. It is a bug. I know there was some discussion of is this intentional? It's not intentional. We will be fixing it and making it a little bit easier in general to be able to see which of the dangerous effects on the ground, making sure that's always readable to the player. So making sure our sort order is correct. You know, if there's a fire enchanted, which is it's the affix that always gets me, that I can definitely see it, because right now with all the corpse farts on the ground.
See how easy it is to just say.
Now
А, взрывы трупов, типа? Они говорят то, что якобы не видно взрывы трупов. Что-то типа того. Ну, они говорили про некромантов. То есть я за некро не играл.
Back to Renown. Yeah, I think the big thing that we're seeing, you know, one of the big questions, I think, especially new players, if you've played Diablo 3 before, you're familiar with the seasonal kind of reset. That idea of like, oh, it's a new season, there may be new balances, especially like in Diablo 3, they changed how sets work and all these sorts of things. There's an interesting like, oh, I want to go back and experience this, whatever new changes are in the season or new mechanics. And that's still true in Diablo 4, that idea that there's that sense of progression and going back and trying something new, experiencing the new mechanics in the world from a new place, where because otherwise it becomes this huge sort of power creep. But obviously, part of the feedback is people now are starting to complete the campaign and they're starting to look forward to season 1 coming mid to late July. They're wondering, like, when you talk about resets, how do I think about the Renown system in particular? And so one of the things, what will happen is that I think we started off in one place and we're kind of ending up in another place, which is kind of interesting. Is we started off.
Точнее, Александр. Александр же зовут. Вроде Александр тебя зовут, если не ошибаюсь.
But I think we're starting to feel with alt characters that notion of, oh, the fog of war between characters doesn't feel great.
Ничего особо пока не говорят. Ничего интересного.
The Lilith altars doesn't necessarily feel great, and so that's something we're going to do, and we'll be continuing to evaluate what should and shouldn't be reset as part of that. And much like once you complete the campaign on one character on your account, you can skip campaign for every character from there on through every season. And I think basically, I guess I won't promise expansions, but I believe expansions too. Not to lock stuff in too early. But that notion that you only have to complete, that's kind of the thinking we have. So right now for Renown, what we're talking about is as we go into season 1, when the amount of the fog of war that you've lifted on your map, the amount of the map that you've exposed going into the season in the Eternal Realm will be what you see in the season. So you don't have to go and reveal the map again.
Говорят, что, как я понял, да, в первом сезоне все, что ты открыл вне сезона, у тебя будет открыто и на сезоне. То есть и Туман войны, то есть имеется в виду, карта будет открыта, алтари Лилит будут открыты и тому подобное. Как я понимаю. Ну и сюжетку тоже. То есть сюжетку можно будет пропустить.
The benefits you get from a Altar of Lilith, like +2 intelligence or +2 dex, those stay with you forever, much like the Renown system of the extra potion charge or the extra obol capacity. Those stay with you too.
В общем, все вот эти эликсиры, скилл-поинты, очки совершенствования, которые получаются за известность, они все, вот ты их открыл, и они навсегда.
I'll make up a number, this is totally made up, 1,000 Renown through Fog of War clearance. When I start up season 1, my map will be clear like it is in the Eternal Realm, and I'll already have 1,000 Renown in my...
Right, your Renown screen will still show, fog, there are this many areas of the map to be discovered.
Right.
It will just give you credit for the ones that you already discovered, and that will translate into starting the season if you have been playing previously on a character with some amount of Renown.
Right. Yeah. Got it. And our intention, so those are the two major that you get credit for. Like we're going to...
Altars and Fog.
Altars and Fog. So side quests, those are something that's still reset. But we're looking into the future, maybe that's something else we could potentially...
Potentially. I mean, it's something that I think we'll continue to evaluate. Like, some things are fun to do every season, and some things are, after you do them a few times, you feel like, Как
я понял, то, что Туман войны должен остаться. То есть не остаться, в смысле, его должны убрать. То есть ты сколько ты расследовал, открыл карты, то столько и будет и в первом сезоне. Я Дима. Дмитрий. Ну, можно Дима. Вот, Туман войны, по идее, они должны убрать. То есть, в зависимости от того, сколько ты открыл, столько будет и на первом сезоне. И алтари Лилит будут уже действовать навсегда. Один раз их все собрал, и все. А вот все остальное еще, как я понял, не точно. То есть, возможно, задания, обычный побочный квест, далее еще останутся.
And how it works right now is if you collect an altar of Lilith, you get the stat bonuses or whatever bonuses that you have, and those carry over. But now with the additional changes, it will be showcased. The ones that you've actually visited already will now showcase on your map already. So it ends up at least covering off of that, of course. And then, as Rod mentioned, the Fog of War items will be kind of carried over, or not carried over, but removed from as you kind of create new characters. And in terms of timing, I guess for some of these, when were we like kind of looking for?
That's season 1, right? So it would be.
Yeah, we're looking to get that for season 1. You know, an interesting point here is that that change will also affect alts after it goes in.
Oh, nice. Perfect. Yeah.
So alts after season 1 will have the same benefit.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Well, I know I'm like slowly getting through my list here. Pull out the cookies.
What I want, yeah, I was gonna say, you want some enter cookies?
У него 13 листов, которым, по идее, должен на этом стриме рассказать то, что будет в будущем Diablo. Он еще пока что на первом листе. Я так понимаю, стрим будет долго.
Probably at least
идти.
one, the bottom row of my inventory tends to be the gems I've collected along the way, and I know that creates some tension, you know, in terms of when to go back or and those sorts of things. So.
Ну, я очень рад тому, что, да. Приятно познакомиться тоже. Ну, я говорил в прошлом стриме. Ну, ничего страшного, можно еще раз повторить. Самое шикарное, да, то, что они сделают телепорты до кошмарных подземелий и повысят опыт, получаемый в кошмарных подземельях. Ну, то есть, что еще можно было хотеть Diablo 4, а для тех, кто уже играет на истязании.
Important, awesome stuff that we built and has all kinds of interesting gameplay, but has the effect of taking up lots of space.
Sure.
It's not, like gems.
Говорят про, я так понял, про гемы, то, что они якобы много занимают инвентаря, и что очень многие блогеры, я сам обращал внимание, жалуются, ну и в том числе я, то, что гемы реально очень много места занимают, и каждый раз ты и складываешь в этот сундук постоянно, и уже не хочется даже их поднимать. Да не, ничего страшного. Тут не на что извиняться. Не за что. Вообще.
You know, we've talked about fixes that have different time horizons. This is a longer term one. We're looking to get it in around season 2.
Oh, okay.
The idea is to change the way you acquire gems so that they are show up in your materials or currency tab rather than in inventory.
Oh, like when you collect bale.
Ну, говорят, что они исправят, скорее всего, не сразу, а вот что-то сказал про второй сезон, ближе ко второму сезону, видимо, сделают так, что гемы будут падать не в инвентарь, а в ресурсы.
Like actual gem inventory slots that you're using now,
right.
But as materials, and you can use that to craft.
То есть, ну, ты будешь точно так же их апгрейдить, эти гемы. Все то же самое будет, просто единственное, что они будут у тебя лежать в ресурсах, а не в инвентаре и не в сундуке.
Something there's been discussion around while we're on materials is that there's this notion of, oh, I didn't understand there was caps. Like, I am not as hardcore to have 10,000 veiled crystals, but I know some people out there are, and they're realizing like, oh, you can only carry 10,000, and there isn't a way to put veiled crystals into the stash or whatever to do with it. Like, what is
Говорят, что якобы на ресурсе есть кап, то есть максимальное количество, которое ты можешь иметь. Даже те ресурсы, которые у тебя лежат в вкладке ресурсов. Я пока что с этим не столкнулся. У меня их вроде бы как.
The caps, the materials aren't. There's no particular reason to cap the Veil of Crystals at 10,000. We're just going to make that bigger.
Yeah, so we're upping the material caps for that, which we've seen a lot of players, especially players that are like level 90 plus. As you're going through dungeons, you're obviously gonna naturally just pick up a lot of gear, and you're gonna salvage a lot of that as well. So you're gonna get to those specific caps that are currently in the game. So I know a lot of those changes are gonna be really beneficial to players who've put in a decent amount of hours on those characters, or even if they're already at max level at 100 and they're still farming gear or looking for gear on those characters.
And the time horizon on the cap, lifting of the caps?
I think we have that in
that's actually
that's coming before
season
right?
one.
Yeah.
So that one we will be changing before season
That's
one.
right.
And it'll be incorporated into some
Так что они что-то сделают, наверное, с гемами до первого сезона.
update.
Before season
Because you
one.
love them. You just love rolling those out.
То есть обновление с гемами будет до первого сезона? Не понял. О чем ты тогда говорил про второй сезон?
I know this has actually been an interesting conversation also that I did want to bring up is we've had a lot of people, especially like content creators and others that have kind of been a little confused on how things like resistances actually currently work within the game. I think there's a lot of people that are actually prioritizing other benefits on gear or stats right now over resistances because they're a little confused on how it works, or they feel that it may not be working at all.
I certainly do that with gems. Like I certainly would rather use my emerald for thorns than like whatever the reduction, like plus 14% resistance, whatever. Like I know my instincts are to go to the more tangible thing initially, and I guess.
Говорят про резисты, да, говорят то, что якобы большинство игроков, на самом деле так и есть, вообще не обращают внимания на резисты, то есть там резист сопротивления холоду, огню и так далее, то есть они даже не понимают, как они работают. В принципе, и я не понимаю. Так, то есть, понятное дело, что они спасают от, например, урона от огня в процентах.
Some of those have multiplicative scaling, and we have sort of some things we want to accomplish with that system too. We want to encourage players to get more resistances as they go up higher in world tiers, which is why there's a...
Хотят спровоцировать игроков набирать все-таки резисты, там, сопротивление холоду, огню там, и так далее. Потому что сейчас этому очень мало уделяется внимания. Например, если там сравнивать с Diablo 2, да, то там сопротивление это очень важно.
Yeah, and what we're seeing right now is that because of the way all of these, there's also an effect where your armor provides physical resistance and also provides half that amount of elemental resistances. And because all of these things are interacting in a complex way, it can be hard for people to figure out exactly how they work.
Right.
But regardless of that, the way that it is working in practice is meaning that resistances are less valuable than we would like them to be.
Sure.
Да, говорят то, что типа броня сейчас дает еще половину от резистов там холода и так далее. То есть чем больше набрал брони, тем у тебя больше резистов и к стихиям. И как бы какой смысл тогда иметь еще резисты к стихиям отдельно? То есть они особо не имеют значения, получается. И вот им это не нравится, они хотят сделать так, чтобы обычные резисты тоже имели значение. Привет, Биби.
Right, and so because we need to go slow on that kind of a complex change, what are you thinking from a time horizon on that?
That's going to be something that we see around season 2.
Right. Yeah. I think it's also managing expectations. The reason why you hear things like, "Hey, we found something," or "We're hearing something," and we're talking already about season 2, which again. We're talking about quarterly seasons, so that's going to be in the fall. Like, why wouldn't you get into season 1? I don't understand.
Ну, сезон 2, говорит, будет. Ну, и так очевидно, будет осенью.
Put it through certification, the way that we do our release candidate testing. Like, we need to be ahead of the game, and the fact that we're.
Они говорят, что вообще они уже как бы работают над вторым сезоном. Сезон 1, получается, у них уже, в принципе, готов. Еще говорили о том, что будет огромный патч. Прямо они говорят, что очень большой патч будет.
So that's what I was trying to set in one of the official dev streams and managing expectations. When we find something, we're like, it's not a hot fix worthy thing or something we can't even hot fix because it's not just like changing a variable on a server. It's something that is a complex system that requires real work. It may come a little bit later than you're thinking because of the fact that we have to be so ahead of the game in developing this content for you. So that's why you're hearing stuff like season 2 means season 1 is pretty much done. I mean, it's done from a development perspective, and now it's in the QA.
Он говорит, что сезон первый уже полностью готов. Поэтому они и говорят уже о втором сезоне, потому что как бы для них это все уже, я так понимаю, сделано.
I know a lot of people are going. I'm seeing chat now going like, why not season 1? Why not season 1? And it's the perfect explanation for it, because in the end of the day, it's you have to button something up to get it ready for people to actually play it, and we obviously have to do a lot of testing for it, certification and so forth. So just a reminder for everyone, like, you know, development is a process. It's
An iterative process.
An iterative process for sure.
You know, that's also a good point. When we think about seasons, one of the things that we think is most important is delivering new content.
Right.
Because that is new stuff for everyone. Like, you know, if we want to make sure that every season is delivering new content, and then on top of that, bring in important fixes, bring in some quality of life improvements. And so, you know, I know that I've seen some lists, like people have helpfully made like some lists, like here are a bunch of quality of life fixes that we would like, or that would help me, you know, as a player. So I think what you'll see is that over time, as seasons roll out, you're going to see those. Like we've been talking about with season 1 and season 2, you're going to continue to see those things. You're not going to see a season that's like, sorry, we didn't make any content, but here's a bunch of fixes.
Говорят, что они очень хотят, чтобы каждый сезон был новый контент именно, то есть прям игровой контент. Не так, что якобы просто фиксы какие-то, просто изменение баланса классов и просто улучшение игрового процесса, а именно конкретно контент. То есть каждый сезон должен выходить с контентом. И что мы не увидим только на первом-втором сезоне контент, а на третьем, там, четвертом они скажут, типа, якобы, все, извините, в этом сезоне не будет контента. То есть они будут стараться делать так, чтобы каждый сезон был новый контент. Ну, говорят, конечно, все очень... Я думаю, инвесторам понравилось бы, если бы сейчас инвесторы слушали. Инария, да. А это Инарий. Ну, Баал, понятно, да, слева он. Может, это Тираэль?
And we want to just, like Joe was saying, it's super important that we deliver quality seasons with tons of great content to our players. So
Ну, говорят, что очень важно для них каждый сезон добавлять очень много контента, качественного контента, в который можно будет нормально играть. То есть, ну, я так понимаю, как было, например, в Path of Exile, да? Они там... Какие там обновления контента с каждым сезоном были? Якобы вот эта шахта, например, которую чисто одну шахту могли фармить, да? Игроки с боссом и так далее. То есть все это было очень интересно. Если так будет, если будет не хуже, чем апдейты в сезонные в Path of Exile, то это будет вообще шикарно.
Чуткая мотивация. Спасибо за контент, продолжай.
Так, я слышал донат, но почему-то у меня он не появился. Чего у меня не появился? А вот появился. Вот, спасибо, Бигби. Прям большое спасибо. Я, кстати, один из, получается, практически первый, кто закинул донат. Потому что первый, кто закинул, это еще когда я только начинал так чисто пробовать, и то мне там что-то закинули. Спасибо большое.
Yeah, so there are a few cases here. There are, we've seen some cases where a hardcore hero died during teleport.
Да, вот, кстати, вот прям очень рекомендую посмотреть, кому интересно, более хардкорных игроков. Queen69, есть такой стример, он умер на хардкоре на 91 уровне, он играл 170 с чем-то часов, и он умер, пройдя кошмарный данж, находясь под куполом, который, ну, все в порядке, он телепортируется То есть он прям все телепортировался. Его дисконнектит из игры, он заходит в игру, и у него надпись, типа, все, ваши герои в зале славы. И там потом можно было увидеть, как он на стриме бил. У него специально для таких моментов стоит типа боксерский торс. Да, боксерский торс, и он этот торс потом какое-то время бил. Как бы агрессию свою выплескивал.
Escape from boss fights that has very strict controls on it in terms of being a consumable item that's a fairly rare drop, which is called the Scroll of Escape. This is a hardcore only item. It's a consumable scroll.
Говорят про scroll of escape, ну, то есть скролл, получается, свиток телепортации, который можно могут использовать хардкорные игроки во время, то есть когда там их застанили, они в заморозке или еще чем-то, то есть будут выпадать. Я на хардкоре не играл, так что поправьте, есть это сейчас или нет. Но будет якобы вот свиток телепортации, который может телепортировать тебя в любой момент. Что такое? Что это такое? Это подстава.
And that allows us to have things in hardcore that are very challenging. Right. Because without something like this, as a hardcore hero who's invested, hundreds of hours, why would I go and do something where I might die? Yeah. There's certainly lots of risk there, and it's very exciting. Right. But I mean, I could just get a little stronger first. Sure. Right. So we think that the scroll allows for even more exciting moments.
Scroll of nope. You're like.
Ну, говорят, что этот свиток будет падать редко достаточно, свиток телепортации. То есть, чтобы он был ценен для игроков. Так я не понял, есть этот свиток на хардкоре или нет?
So like even if your cat pulls the Wi-Fi router out of the wall.
Now I want to clarify that
because a dog would never do
it's not
That's true. Only cats.
The disconnect case is a very complex situation in terms of determining what's happening.
Sure.
So this is not perfect situation.
Okay. Lightning strike on the telephone pole may not trigger
100%. But what should happen is that when we detect that you've disconnected, if you have one of these scrolls of escape in your inventory, it will trigger.
Ну, говорит, что если тебя дисконнектнуло, но у тебя есть в инвентаре свиток телепортации, вот этот, который для хардкорных игроков, то при дисконнекте он будет автоматически срабатывать, и тебя будет просто телепортировать в город. Ну, я думаю, для хардкорных игроков это прям очень важная тема. Да, ну теперь вот свиток телепортации будет при дисконнекте автоматом будет телепортировать.
The sigil change is that one of the concerns, if we didn't put the right rules around it, is that if a sigil automatically teleported me somewhere, I could use that to escape hard content, you know. And so we always have to. That's part of it. It's not everything is intuitively like, oh, I instantly get it, go do that. You have to go like, wait, there's a bunch of edge cases and things that this can be abused, and we have to manage that too. So. Okay, that sounds good. So I'm Mr. What's the time window on that, Joe? That's my role now on this. Campfire chat is Rod. Like, when are you getting that done?
I think this is a selfish
That
question.
is also a season 2 time frame for the disconnect protection.
Yeah.
Some of the bugs that I mentioned earlier in terms of cases where immunity, there could be a problem with immunity or a teleport, a death during loading screen or something. Those are things that we're investigating right now.
It could be hotfix, but
Донаты завезли. Проверка связи.
The scroll of escape with disconnection protection would end up being season 2. So, cool. All right, I know I got a few more. Sorry, I know I want to make sure we hit on all these topics. This is obviously really important for the community, and I know that they want to hear about them and so forth. But
Бета-тест. Александр, спасибо большое.
Popular one. Why are my caches higher level than me? I can't open my cache. I killed the world boss, but I can't open the cache.
What's in the cache, Joe?
This is a bug. So in before season 1, in an upcoming
A
fix,
planned patch.
yes, That's right.
In the plan patch?
Plan patch.
You will be able to
In the
open
13 pager? Is that what we're doing?
in a planned patch.
Демонстративно
You will
показывает,
be
что
able to open caches, for
большой
bugs.
список у него для патча.
Now,
Он там
the gear that's in those caches
пачку
may still be higher level,
держит.
but there's
И говорит, что это якобы малая часть от того, что они готовы там внедрить патчи, которые будут на первом сезоне. Ну, то есть
And it gives you
первый
something where
сезон.
you're like, oh, this thing that's amazing is 3 levels higher than me. I'm
Yeah.
going to go get up to that level and use that gear, right? Nice.
I know. So scaling is a huge topic. I'm just diving right
Is
in.
it maybe too huge? Is that where you're going? What are we doing?
Well, scaling is a big topic. I think players have talked a lot about like, hey, the world scaling with
right.
you and the sense of power that you have. I think one thing that we actually talked about earlier, I think addresses some of the scaling questions we have, which was like nightmare dungeons are that way of also feeling more powerful as you're kind of progressing through them, because you can obviously go into higher level nightmare dungeons, and you'll be able to slowly but surely, get your way through higher and higher level versions of that. The other thing, though, I think, and I've seen this a lot personally myself, where people have been going like, hey, I might be like a level 25 druid, but level 18 gear is dropping. And there's a lot of like attachment to item level, or to the actual level required.
Focus on the wrong number?
Yeah, as opposed to the item power. And I think it's a topic I wanted to bring up just because item power is actually really the number that people should be really focusing on.
Ну, говорит то, что якобы многие обращали внимание, что на 25 уровне, например, там друид бежит, он убивает монстров, выпадает шмотки, а шмотки, допустим, 18 уровня. Ну, уровень, который требуем для того, чтобы надеть эту шмотку. И он говорит, что нужно обращать внимание не на уровень, который выпадает шмотки, а на уровень item level. То есть там вверху написан item level. То есть на вот это нужно обращать внимание. То есть не нужно обращать внимание на то, какой уровень требуется для того, чтобы надеть эту шмотку.
So it's kind of nice sometimes that you can get a slightly higher item power on a slightly lower level item, because it gives that...
Ну, говорит, что может быть очень низкий требоваться уровень для того, чтобы надеть шмотку, но при этом очень высокий item level сам по себе. Поэтому на это обращать внимание не нужно.
In most cases, but there are many situations where that is not accurate,
right?
And so it's better to look, as Adam was saying, at the item power of an item.
I mean, Adam brought up Druid, so one of the things I know I hear quite a bit about is there's a thing where you get into uniques and discussions that like barb uniques are falling for druids, and so what's the issue there?
Yeah, there are a couple bugs where certain barb uniques can drop for druids that we're fixing.
Ну, говорит, наверное, про баги друидов, то, что ты выпадаешь шмотка, на ней, допустим, вероятность крита 0%. Говорят, что мы над этим работаем. Ну, блин, на самом деле, мне кажется, что это не так уж сложно исправить. Это было с самого начала игры.
Yeah, you will. That's a really good point. These changes are not. You will never ever see anything for another class.
Right.
It's that there are some specific barb uniques that were meant to drop only for barb, but due to a bug are also dropping for druid, and we're correcting those.
Ну, говорят, что они исправляют то, что, например, ты играешь за друида, а тебе выпадает уникальная вещь, которая должна быть для варвара. Ну, или наоборот, по идее. Не знаю, допустим, если за варвара играешь, выпадает уникальная вещь, которую может носить только друид. То есть такого, говорит, не должно быть.
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
Social features, looking for group, looking like type of features has been a topic. Some people who may not be in like a clan or something like that, or choose not to actually join a clan, or maybe some of their friends or their normal.
Ну, хорошая тема, кстати, поднялась.
During a specific time, trying to find other people to maybe like join in with you during dungeons and stuff like that can be a little bit of a challenge. We've been hearing a lot of feedback on that.
Наверное, играть не буду, не знаю, смотря во сколько закончится. Если закончится позже 12, то сейчас сколько времени? Ну, вряд ли позже 12, еще, наверное, час будет. Но я потом просто, наверное, такую вырезку попытаюсь сделать по итогам этой конференции, стрима этого, да, и смонтировать по-быстрому и выложить на канале. Так что, скорее всего, не буду, в зависимости от того, когда закончу. Все-таки хочется пораньше начать ложиться спать, а то я ложусь все время в 2 часа ночи.
Social features felt like it's one of those great places to evolve and iterate into. So I think that's a large bucket of features that I could see as we continue to improve quality of life over all the seasons. I could see like social features are just going to get better and better and better over time.
Yeah.
Ну, говорят то, что есть многие игроки, которые, например, не хотят играть в клане, или клан маленький, и им достаточно тяжело найти группу для того, чтобы вместе играть. То есть они работают над тем, чтобы была социальная какая-то возможность для того, чтобы находить группу, то есть looking for group. То есть какая-то, возможно, или там, возможно, чат создадут, что-то типа того.
That will be hitting players, so it should help out with a lot of those specific scenarios or those instances that players are actually running into. And again, if you guys actually have any of those issues on your end, feel free to post those in our forums. We scour those, all throughout the day. It's customer service, it's QA, it's community, and we're actually providing all this information over to those teams. Giving as much information as possible is huge, as opposed to like, hey, my computer's not performing very well while I'm playing Diablo 4. If you can give us, extra information, computer specs, etc., where it may have occurred, and details and so forth.
The DX diag on the forums is really helpful.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, sometimes there's expectations around how much memory do I actually need, how much VRAM do I actually need, and sometimes actually because of the way we do seamless server transitions.
Ну, говорят по поводу оптимизации.
If we're doing some maintenance or there's something going on, you can see what you're called rubber banding could actually be just a slight delay in the server transition and not actually be related to the game's performance. It may actually just be a networking handoff between servers. So there is no one blanket. I think there's a lot of we run on very low end, which like being able to go all the way down to Gen 8 to going to very high, and each one of them have their own different sets of requirements. And we know that by setting your settings correctly can help you a lot too, like playing with what is this texture level, does it help or hurt, those kinds of things. But
Говорят то, что есть сложности с тем, чтобы оптимизировать игру под разные типы процессоров там. Поэтому они над этим работают, чтобы была лучшая оптимизация у Diablo.
The more information we get about them, the more likely we are to be able to address them.
Yep, most definitely. I know, so yeah, there's a ton of different bug fixes and so forth that are still coming down the line, and we plan on addressing all of those. Again, continue using our forums to actually give us that info. I know we do want to take some questions from chat and so forth from Twitch chat. I will do my best to actually announce names. I will announce the names so people know that they can go back into chat and see the names and not go like, oh my gosh,
you made up those names.
Made up these names.
Those aren't
and
real
so
names.
Forth. And I will note that was not our interview. So that we did not come up with that question.
Pretty good.
But yeah, I do want to take some questions from chat itself.
Ну, теперь вопросы из чата.
I had one. I was actually kind of
Не успели позавтракать, видимо, ребята. Готовились. У них там сейчас сколько? Вроде 10 часов утра.
So you're saying you wouldn't want another one?
Outback is so good. Tiff and I have this thing about Outback Steakhouse. It's fantastic. I know, I'm okay.
He needs to read the questions.
Yes, I do need to read the questions. I do plan on going through at least some of the questions and continue asking questions as they're coming in. We actually have the community team is actually going through. Huge shout out to the community team. They're in the chat and they're actually going through and polling questions so that I can see them because chat is moving very fast. Let's see. In terms of, let's see.
You didn't start with the name.
Oh yeah, I need to start with the name. I'm sorry. This is a party play question, and it's from, oh gosh, I have to pronounce the names. Necrologics says.
Not so hard. Necrologics.
Well, I'm hoping it sounds.
Why are you
like
sounding it out like a 4-year-old? The Necrologics. Why is that so hard?
I mean, it's like logics or something. Can we teleport to people without going to town first? Is that can be an option in the future?
So we're carefully looking at the teleporting. We want it to be easy to meet up with friends. The waypoint in town is our normal way to move to places.
I don't know that everybody knows this, by the way, because I've had to explain it to people. That it's actually, once you know what it is, like I get if you know it, you're saying like, can I optimize it? But if you don't know about it, like it's really cool that when you join your friend's game, I'm giving Joe time to eat his s'mores. When you join your friend's game, you might be in a
Вопрос задан был то, что нельзя ли сделать так, чтобы можно было телепортироваться к участнику группы, не телепортируясь в город. Не через телепорт, который там на вейпоинте, а чтобы напрямую можно было телепортироваться к игроку.
Then you're next to a portal that has their name on it. You click on it, and now, or press A, and then you're with them. And so it's been great at playing with parties where you just go like, hey, just press down your D-pad, jump in the portal, and you're with us. And so I get that might not, it's not like a direct, but it's like it's a layover. It's a you know.
Я думаю, у них все это с этим проблем нет сейчас. Diablo продалось, по-моему, это самая быстро продаваемая игра у Blizzard за всю историю.
So you can do more direct teleport?
It's something we'll keep an eye on. Okay. We aren't planning to change that right now, but it's this, as Tiffany was saying earlier, this is a game where we are continuing to support it and provide things for years to come, and that will mean that the game evolves over that time as well.
Yep.
We have a question from Old Greg's Place. I think that's an easy name.
That was a good one.
Yeah. There's an underscore after Greg's, though.
You don't have to pronounce it.
I don't want to go like place. Are you guys planning to buff any kind of resource generation, be it from passive or gear?
So we have a variety of buffs coming in a future patch to many things across many classes.
The internet now. Thanks for that. I'm just saying you alluded to buffs, but we're not being specific. So now it's going to be a lot of speculation, which is
that's
great.
true. It's in the top secret document that Adam has.
A lot of this.
Okay.
So builds, including builds that that have issues with resource generation, should keep an eye out for things that address that. I want to be careful here, though, because
я проходил на 58 уровне, и уже можно было на 58, в принципе, можно хоть на, не знаю, 10 уровне, можно пойти уже на Т4 на истязание. Но там можно, в принципе, чтобы протащили. То есть, единственное, что, конечно, будет тяжеловато, если ты на 58 уровне не можешь тянуть Т4. Ну, вопрос не особо интересный сейчас пока что. Якобы будут ли они апать скорость восстановления ресурсов, там, энергии, духа и так далее, из шмоток и всего остального. Мне кажется, и так уже достаточно хорошо все регенится, и что-то там апать нет смысла. Так вот, на Т4 можно когда угодно, если есть кому там протащить, пробежаться с кем-то. Но единственное, что проблема, и, конечно, чем раньше, тем лучше перейти на 4 уровень сложности, потому что там падают наследные предметы, я каждый раз повторяю, наследные предметы намного лучше, в 2 раза лучше, чем священные предметы. Поэтому чем раньше сможешь фармить 4 уровень сложности, тем лучше. И даже если будешь дохнуть, все равно, если, конечно, не на хардкоре, то переходи как можно раньше. И даже если будешь дохнуть, ты постепенно насобираешь наследные предметы и выстроишь уже более-менее билд, и сможешь, в принципе, уже дальше играть намного быстрее, как бы апнешь персонажа. Да что ж такое? Это не на этом компьютере. Думал, опять возмущается антивирусник.
It won't increase the total number of monsters in Nightmare Dungeons. That also can also called the density. But that is something that, as a result of the changes that we had to establish a baseline, we do have the ability to tune in the future.
Right.
Yep. Are you guys planning to continue quarterly update style?
Name? Who's asking?
Oh, sorry. Nupu Games. Are you planning to continue to
Соло, наш говорю, я на 58 уровне прошел, было тяжеловато с священными шмотками, но я прошел. Много раз сдох, на канале даже есть видео, как я проходил. Ну, то есть и с 58 уровня я уже фармил 4 уровень сложности. Единственное, что наследные шмотки, когда ты выбиваешь, они всегда требуют 60 уровень для того, чтобы их надеть. Поэтому есть смысл, например, на 60 уровне уже идти на 4 уровень сложности.
Interact a little bit more versus go read this novel. Like, I like them. I love what we did. I love the transparency because we couldn't necessarily do streams before. But if I had to choose between an 8-page blog and a 45-minute stream, I would choose the stream. But that's just me.
And we still will have blogs around like seasons and announcements and so forth. That's still a thing. So expect to see more live streams, of course, and more campfire chats and everything related to that. Will we get an expanded option to change our character's appearance within the game? Oh, got it. Guts Claymore asked this question. Thank you, Guts. Will we get more options to change our character's appearance within the game? Don't want to make a new character just to change my character's face, hairstyle, etc.
So there are some options for re-customizing your character through the wardrobe. You can't change everything.
Вопрос задали, можно ли изменять, например, внешний вид, там, не только татуировки вроде, да, можно через гардероб, через шкаф вот этот менять. Если будут ли возможности менять именно лицо, и менять там прическу и так далее?
In the shorter term, there'll probably be more. When you do a character create, there'll be more options, like as we go through. But
yeah.
The notion of actually like once you've rolled your character and you're level 60, right now because you can't like change say your hairstyle, that's probably a later down the road. That's not that our biggest thing we want to do is get more hairstyles into character creator before we're actually is more higher priority than the ability to change your hair after the fact.
Ну, говорят, что они пока к этому не спешат это менять, то есть для них важнее сделать больше вариантов всяких причесок на экране создания персонажа и возможности кастомизировать своего персонажа, чем, например, там, когда докачаешься до 60 уровня, ты мог бы изменить прическу и так далее. То есть они на это пока что не обращают внимания.
Who's asking?
Oh, sorry, I'm so bad at this. It's because
At least we all agree on something.
Well, it's like in a different font color, and you just like immediately move off from it. And it's a really hard name. Burn 1 N9 M4N. There we go. I'm just gonna read it out like that because I'm not gonna butcher the name.
You put the forethought to actually look at those elite spellings in case it actually says something you shouldn't say out loud. Have you thought about?
Well, if I just say it by number or whatever, as opposed to saying that, then I'm okay. Are you gonna add a completed side quest tab to the journal?
We want to improve the things that the journal, or that not necessarily the journal specifically, but that can be tracked through the UI over time to allow more situations where maybe you see something in the game and you want to go back and look at it in the future over time. That's future plans.
I mean, the thing too, I think part of what's driving that.
Ну, вопрос про журнал заданий, что они пока на это не обращают. Ну, то есть имеется в виду, что если, например, ты что-то нашел, да, но ты хочешь к этому вернуться через какое-то время, то есть какое-то задание, возможно, или что-то типа того, что как-то обозначить в журнале, к примеру, да? Но они как бы на это обращают. Я, честно, немного не понял вопроса, в чем прикол.
If your desire for being a completionist around side quests is for renown, you can actually complete renown without doing all the side quests.
And then this is kind of a similar question, and I think this kind of falls across like quality of life. This is from Java Jinx. Are there planned quality of life improvements like search functions in the stash or for specific dungeons? I will tell you, like, again, this is another, like, these are features that will obviously be looked at, and, you know, the game is going to improve over time as we go from season to season. Lots of quality of life items will end up kind of appearing. We'll be evaluating them all as they kind of come in. I'm going to take one last question, which is...
And who's it from?
Who's it from? And this one I think is just a clarification from people. This from Nexian. It says, can you just re-clear something you said earlier so we can keep all skill points, potion charges, max obels, and paragon points from renown for seasons?
Right. That's an important thing to clarify. So the renown, so things like paragon points at the end of the renown bar, you will start with some renown. You're not going to get those paragon points that require finishing the renown bar until you fill the renown bar.
Okay, well, so that's my fault because I misunderstood. So it wasn't that they didn't understand. I misexplained it. So currently, like in the Eternal Realm, if I on one character I complete the full renown bar, so I get my obels and I get my paragon points. If I roll an alt, I have the skill points, I have those potion charge, I have the obels, I have the paragon points right now, being that are shared between my characters on my account.
Some elements of the paragon system are shared between characters. Things like the Altars of Lilith also give you stat points.
Right, but I'm just saying that that's how it works today in the Eternal Realm in terms of going between one character to another. The renown unlocks on the bottom level are account-wide, yes?
In seasons, you will the things that are at the end of the renown bar, you will still have to acquire renown to get.
Right, that's why I was just trying to clarify what it is.
Они говорят про известность, только не понял, в чем вопрос, типа, что будет в первом сезоне.
I clear all on my account, I get it across all my characters. So you're saying when we do a season reset, and if you clear it all on a character, or like when you have a map that's revealed in the Eternal Realm, when I go into the season, the map will be clear.
Right.
I'll have the renown for that, but I won't have like potentially the max 80 obels and the paragon automatically unlocked because I haven't discovered enough. I haven't gone and hit all those waypoints that would fill that bar.
Right. Yeah. But you will have the renown for revealing the map, and you'll have the renown for collecting the Altars of Lilith. To the extent that you have done that.
Короче, в первом сезоне у вас будет известность за те алтари, которые вы взяли уже до сезона, допустим, на обычной игре, и та известность, которая у вас есть за открытие Тумана Войны, то есть имеется в виду открытие карты. А все остальное нужно будет по новой получать. То есть известность сразу же вся не будет. То есть не будет очков скиллпоинтов и очков совершенствования, если до них не дошли. А вот алтари и карта будет открыта, и за это уже будет у вас сразу же изначально на первом сезоне известность.
Got a pocket Joey P over there.
I know, pocket Joey P. Pocket Joey P. Well, we well over the time estimate that I thought we were going to have, so I apologize, everyone.
That's your fault.
We're eating into our lunch. But I do want to thank everyone for tuning in. This is our first Campfire Chat. Again,
говорят, заканчивают. Получается. Говорят, что будут почаще делать подобные стримы с новостями Diablo и так далее.
The intention is we want to have more ad hoc, informal. We don't want to have to wait till some big thing or whatever. Like, this is a game we're all playing and want to talk about. So we just want to be able to not have this like, okay, the third Thursday of every month we're doing this. Like, we just want to be able to go like, hey, let's talk about the game and with the community. So we're going to try to do these more often and keep them light, keep them casual as best we can.
Yep, and obviously we still have the hardcore race going on. We actually posted an update on social media yesterday about how many people are up there.
Still like 700.
As of yesterday, still like 700 slots for people to make it on the statue.
We're actually digging the hole for the statue on campus. So they're pouring the cement thing to the statue can go on top of. So
Ross always giving spoilers.
What? That we're putting the statue on campus? How's that a spoiler?
It's just like blocked off. No one can like see it. Even internal people can't see it, you know.
I'm just saying it's kind of cool. I've never had that before in a game where your name, like as the development team is walking to lunch, they can see your name on the statue. I think it's kind of cool. And that reminds us of our community and our fans out there who are playing the game. And and people were like, oh my God, first time. Like I get the first thing, but we made it 1,000 for a reason. We wanted people to be able to enjoy the story and play the game at their pace. And we wanted to get through, our first 10 days plus early access, so that people didn't feel, because we knew, as our production director often says, it's going to be a little rock and roll, and we knew for hardcore, bold people who decided to do hardcore like on our first day because definitely a little rock and roll. But we wanted people to have that opportunity. So there's still, still 700 spots available. So if you haven't rolled a hardcore yet,
Говорят, что и будет какая-то статуя вроде Лилит, но они уже об этом рассказывали, что на которой будут имена тех, по-моему, 7000 или сколько людей, я не помню, которые докачались на хардкоре до 100 уровня, вроде как.
Other thing that I did want to remind people is that obviously our next developer update live stream, we'll be talking about that date soon, but we are planning for that to be in early July. We'll be going over season 1 details then.
Ooh, season 1 details.
Ooh, I
Well,
just
actually, know
wanted
what
you
it
to
is.
Скорее всего, будет тоже стрим с разработчиками в начале июля о первом сезоне, то есть они будут рассказывать, что будет в первом сезоне.
It's a really cool season.
It
Can't wait
is.
to go over all
It
the
is not.
details.
If you didn't watch the previous
Joe
stream,
now has to clear up.
Wait, you can't have an inside joke.
this is
People
a
don't
joke
know.
from the previous stream.
Right.
It
We
is
joked
not
that
zombies.
It is not zombies. Zombies was our illustrative example of what the season could be, but is not. So do not. That was we were just referring to that.
But yeah, so make sure to tune in for that. And of course, we'll have more of these campfire chats. There's still lots of updates that are coming here really soon.
Yay, Tiffany!
Yay, Tiffany!
Keep rolling, just keep rolling.
And we'll have of course all those patch notes and details up on the site once those are available. As you guys heard, a lot of these changes are going to be coming before season 1. So we'll make sure to keep you guys informed. Make sure to follow us on social at Diablo on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc.
Here, smash that subscribe button for you,
Smash that
Adam.
subscribe button, guys. Like and subscribe.
Ну всё,
thank you guys
заканчиваем
again,
стрим.
and we'll see you on the next stream.
Да, все. До следующего стрима. Подписывайтесь, говорят, на наши социальные сети и тому подобное. Ну, новости очень хорошие. Мне понравились новости. Да, они, конечно, не рассказали ничего особого про первый сезон. Ничего нового. Но зато рассказали о том, что будет в ближайшее время изменено в игре, и это очень, очень классно. Я считаю, по крайней мере для меня, для тех, кто еще не докачался до 4 уровня сложности, понятное дело, пока что это, наверное, не столь важно, но то, что не нужно будет качаться все время в одном и том же данже, это меня уже радует. Это прям замечательно. Так, ладно, тогда буду заканчивать. Сейчас смонтирую, наверное, видео по итогам этого стрима. И уже, скорее всего, только завтра буду... Если выйду в стрим, то, скорее всего, только завтра. Так, ставлю паузу. Все, всем пока. Спасибо за то, что были на стриме. Спасибо за донаты. Всего доброго. До уже завтра, наверное.